How's everybody doing today? It's Jake Reed coming at you guys with a quick little video here. It's going to be kind of a two-part thing. Well, all in the same video, but two concepts coming at you in this one video. And I'm going to be coming at you guys today with another video as well on Red Dead Redemption 2. But I wanted to get this out here. First and foremost, we're looking for Madden players, okay? We're starting a franchise here. I wanted to give you guys an update on what has happened in our franchise, that 32-man franchise that I started, and my other franchise that I had. I had this Steelers franchise going on the channel, and it got corrupted. So I got on here one day to upload an episode of it for you guys, and it wasn't there. It was gone. So I either accidentally deleted it, or it got corrupted, or it was sucked up by the Madden gods. I don't know what happened to it, but it doesn't exist anymore, and I'm sorry about that. I really wanted to keep going with that franchise for you guys, because it seemed like a lot of you viewers were actually interested in that one. That one consistently earned viewership. So what I'm trying to do here is my intention was to get into that 32-man franchise and have some fun with that, and maybe give some consistent content out for you guys through that franchise, but it looks like that one's not going to work out. We got kicked because we called out some of the owners of the league. We found out that they were cheating, that they were boosting their own player stats but nobody else's, so that kind of just sparked my interest in doing one with just a couple of my friends. And any of you subscribers, if you guys want to participate in a PS4 Madden franchise with us, it's going to be a realistic franchise, edited rosters so that the player ratings make sense, the overalls make sense, the players are the way that they should be, not the way that Madden has them. It's going to be realistic rules. We're going to play it as realistic as possible, so it's a super fun experience on our really fun sliders that we have. So it's a very unique experience. It's going to be super fun. So if you guys are interested in something like that, please comment down below and let me know. Feel free to give me your username on PS4 or whatever. We'll talk about it, see what team you want to be. Right now, the 4 teams that are taken are obviously me, the Panthers, my buddy Tyler is the Broncos, Chris is the Texans, and Tex is the Browns, and then we have a couple other invites pending. They haven't decided who they're going to be, except for one user has decided they're going to be the Falcons. So these are the 5 teams that are taken: Panthers, Broncos, Texans, Browns, and Falcons. So you can be any other team that you want, as long as you respond to me down in the comment section what team you'd like to be, and we'll invite you to the franchise. We'll test you out, make sure that you can follow the rules and play realistic with us and everything, and we'll have a good time. It'll be great. So please, 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 if you want to do that, let me know down in the comment section below, and drop a like on the video while you're at it. But with that being said, I wanted to get into the meat of this video, which is my franchise setup guide. I have a lot of people asking me how, I'm super good at setting up the franchise. I'm super quick at it. Get through the settings, everything really quick, edit the players, do all this. I get it done within like a day. It's all set up, ready to go, and it's a super realistic, super fun experience. Not the same as what other people have. What other people end up doing is they start it up quick, the roster sucks, it's not fun, they play on base sliders and all this different stuff. So here's my 7-point checklist of what I want you guys to do if you're starting up a franchise, and what I recommend for you guys to do. I don't necessarily go off this checklist myself, because I don't necessarily have a checklist per se. I just do these things in my brain automatically before I'm ready to start a franchise, because these things have to be done for me to actually have the franchise be fun. So the first thing that you're going to want to do, you want to determine what you're trying to do. You want to determine if you're trying to play realistic, if you want it to be like a real-life NFL simulation, or if you're trying to make it be fun and goofy and outlandish. And basically all that's going to play into what you want to decide to do. And what we typically do is we try and do it as realistic as possible. You're going to go into the league settings, and you're going to play either simulation style or arcade or whatever you want to do. We play simulation because we're going for the most realistic experience possible, and then that's going to factor into your sliders and everything. And I apologize, I'm going to turn down the background music just a little bit while I'm at it here, because and this is another thing that we actually edit while we're playing the game. We edit the volume sliders to be like this, because it presents a pretty realistic experience whenever you're in game with the commentary, the crowd noise, and all that. So we go hard. I mean, we do the volume control, we do sliders, we do everything. I do the roster, and I'm going to get into all that here. So number one, you want to try and decide what you're trying to do. So you want to try and decide if you're doing realistic or not, and if you're doing realistic, a lot of this I'm going to base off of trying to do it the most realistic franchise possible, which is that's my bread and butter. That's what I like to do. So if you're doing it realistic, then you're going to want to decide whether you're going to be coaches or owners. Now, coaches have a much easier time because you don't have the financial strain. You don't have to manage your money, your stadium, your penalties, your bonuses, and all that stuff. It's a much easier experience. But if you want to go for a realistic challenge, which is what we like to do, we are all owners. We all decide to be owners. I'm the owner of the Panthers here, and I decided to create David Tepper because the game doesn't recognize yet that David Tepper is now the owner of the Carolina Panthers. So we're going to, like I said, we're going for a super realistic experience. But if you're trying to do it fun, you can make the owner of the team somebody that's from Carolina, or somebody that's well known in the Carolinas, or somebody that has been in talks to purchase the team, somebody that's been in talks to purchase another team. You can go crazy with it, but we like to do it as realistic as possible. We did one where I thought it was fun. I was Elon Musk. I ended up purchasing a team out of California. I don't remember which one of the teams was, but I thought it made sense because it's Elon Musk. He's got tons of money. Why not buy a franchise? And then we had Bill Gates, I believe, buy the Seattle Seahawks because he's from Seattle. So stuff like that. You can get crazy with it. So you want to decide, before you ever do anything, you need to decide what your intentions are. And then the other thing you want to decide in this first point is whether you're trying to do, what skill level you're trying to do, and whether you're trying to do a rebuild, a semi-rebuild, a team that just needs a couple pieces here and there, or you want to be one of the stacked teams. Now, what we do is we try and distribute the talent evenly. So the best players get the worst teams and give themselves the most challenge possible. And we like to do this to ourselves because it's fun to try and balance things out. And then the worst players get the best teams, or the players that don't play the game as much as us, they get the best teams because it kind of balances out. It gives them a fair shot at everything, and it makes it a much more fun and immersive experience. So then step 2 to setting up the franchise is that you're going to go ahead and create your owner or coach. And that's what I set up here. I created David Tepper because I wanted to be realistic. I wanted to be the Panthers owner. I want to run this team from top to bottom. I want to go over here and be able to manage everything. I want to be able to fire my staff. I want to be able to change my stadium. I want to be able to relocate if I feel necessary. I want to be able to manage my finances and change my ticket prices, my merchandise prices, my concession prices, and all that. So that's what I did. I created my owner. And that's how you create a realistic league. If you want it to be realistic and you want it to be a bit of a challenge, create owners and go for teams that are matching to your skill level. If you're really good at the game, be a rebuild and make it hard on yourself, because that's how you're going to have the most realistic experience, and you're not going to have ridiculous stats or anything like that. Now, step 3 is to adjust player ratings. This is something that everybody likes to skip over, and I don't know why. Not a lot of people take the time and effort to go in and adjust player ratings. Now, what you can do is there's one of two things. You can start the season, if you look at the top of the screen up there, you can start the season at the beginning of the season, which is the least realistic way you can possibly do it. You can start with all the retired players still in there, the free agents and stuff, and it's just not, that's what we did with that 32-man league, and it's just not the same. It's not as fun to me, but maybe it'll be fun for you guys. So what we do is we start in whatever the current week is. Right now it's the Super Bowl week. We're going to start in the Super Bowl week. We'll force the win for the Patriots, and then we'll advance to the offseason and take care of the offseason for our teams, which will be really fun. We'll start with realistic stats and everything, but the problem with this is that you're not going to have a roster that you can upload. You're going to start with the base roster on the game and the ratings that the game decides to give the players. So what I do is I go in and I take a couple hours and I spend the time and effort to adjust player ratings to where they need to be. Now, I could go through every team and show you guys a couple different players, but I'll spot check some players. So players like James Conner, the game gives him 86 speed, but we all know that at this point, him being as good as he is, he had cancer when he did run the 40 time, or he was in remission from cancer and had a bad 40 time. he's not 86 speed, and in order for him to actually be realistic, you got to bump his speed up to an 89. Or the Patriots just won the Super Bowl, for example, so we went to the Patriots and we buffed the players up. So we made Edelman a 90 because he has extremely good route running. The game only gives him 86 speed, but he's super quick still at 32 years old, so we gave him a buff. And then players like Sony Michel and James White, we balanced out because James White's the main receiving back. We balanced him out so that he'd be the receiving back. Sony Michel would be the actual running back. And then a guy like Jeremy Hill, a guy that was intended to be the starter, they only make him like a 76 in the game, but he deserves to be somewhere in the low 80s because he'll be a starter on a team somewhere, or he'll be a very good backup on a team like this. Other players, for example, we went in and made Kelechi Osemele one of the best guards in the game because he is still one of the best guards in the game. Rodney Hudson, you had to buff up. Let's just scroll through some of the other teams. The Rams, they're relevant. So we had to edit some of these players, made Whitworth better. Not a whole lot of adjusting on this roster, but we had to bump Gurley up to a 99 because he's the best running back in the game and has been for the entire year except for the Super Bowl game. So we bumped him up. We bumped C.J. Anderson up. Let's go through a team at the beginning of the Browns are pretty relevant. I don't think we had to edit a whole lot on the Browns. There's teams like the Cardinals. There's players that they disrespect on the Cardinals, like David Johnson and Patrick Peterson. We have to up Patrick Peterson and up David Johnson. And this takes time. Don't get me wrong. I'm not going to go through every team for you guys. It takes a lot of time, but you end up with a much more realistic roster, and you end up with a much better curve in terms of player overall. So if I go to NFL and sort by quarterback, for example, we have it set so that there's a clear distinction between number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4, number 5, number 6. So it's literally Tom Brady's a 99, Drew Brees is a 98, Aaron Rodgers is a 97, and you can choose, your allocations here, what you want them each to be, but we established that these are basically the top 5 guys at the current point in the game: Tom Brady, Brees, Rodgers, Wilson, and Ben Roethlisberger, and they're followed very closely by guys like Patrick Mahomes, Phillip Rivers, Andrew Luck, and then as you can see, there's a very natural progression downwards from the top players, and then you have like Elliott, Bell, Gurley, McCaffrey, Kamara, etc. And then you can do that pretty much for any team. The game also likes to neglect certain positions like fullbacks and backup quarterbacks, for example. So that's something you want to pay attention to if you want to have a realistic franchise. We increase overall ratings for a lot of the fullbacks because right now they're irrelevant and they all get cut by their teams. And that's not how it actually works in real life. A lot of these guys are very good players and very utilized players by their team. Guys like James Devlin is a tank of a player, and he deserves to have a good rating and deserves to actually be factored into that team's offense, but he won't be because the developers disrespect him the way that they do. There are guys in the NFL that are legitimate backup quarterbacks that should have backup quarterback ratings. Guys like AJ McCarron, Tyrod Taylor, Geno Smith, who else? Kyle Lauletta, Jacoby Brissett, RG3, Matt Schaub, Drew Stanton, Chad Henne, Brian Hoyer. These are all guys that are really disrespected by the game, guys that are proven backup quarterbacks that actually have a decent amount of talent, that they just make them like a 65 overall because they're a backup quarterback, which we don't think is right. So we go through and we take time to adjust player ratings. Same thing with kickers. Kickers are always disrespected. Pay attention to them. Pay attention to punters. And for the most part, a lot of these other positions are pretty good, I would say, overall in terms of what they do with the players' ratings. There are some that are disrespected. I know CJ Mosley only has quick potential, but he's probably one of the best and fastest developing linebackers in the game at this point, so we bump him up to have superstar potential and stuff like that. So you really want to take the time, maybe you and a couple of your friends or a couple of people you're playing with, and go through and really fix up the roster the way that it needs to be to actually have a realistic experience, have the players play the way that they should. And then the next thing, while you're doing that, you want to go in and you want to edit the contracts. I know I made a previous video on this about how you fix free agency and make it a more realistic and fun experience, but you want to fix the contracts so the players are actually averaging the correct amount of salary per year. A lot of the teams are given ridiculous amounts of salary cap space, when in reality they don't have a lot of salary cap space. So one of the biggest ones to do is the Jaguars, for example. If someone wants to be the Jaguars, they should have to suffer with the fact that they don't have any cap space. They really don't in real life have any cap space, and they're not going to unless they cut some of these players or trade them. And so you're not able to go out and acquire any of the pieces that you need. You're stuck with like the $20 million cap hit for Blake Bortles, or $17 million for Norwell, or $12 million for Campbell, $12 million for Marcel Darius, and stuff like that. So you have to really try to manage your salary cap, and that is another aspect of making a realistic experience and a realistic franchise. That's something that a lot of people skip over, is they just want to play. They want to toss balls up to their best receiver and just have it be arcade mode, have people grab one-handed catches, do glitch plays and cheese plays, and that's not a good way to keep the game fresh, in my opinion. A good way to keep the game fresh is to give yourself a challenge and make it interesting. Maybe I would be happy for somebody to be the Jaguars. They have a very good team, but you're still going to have the challenges to overcome of the fact that you don't have a good quarterback and you don't have the money to fix any of the issues that you have. So you have to manage the cap or do some interesting things to try and work around that. So you want to go in and edit the contract so that teams have the correct amount of salary cap space and players are being paid the correct amount of money. A giant one, for example, is Matt Stafford. The game only pays him like $17 million a year, but he averages out at almost 30 or more per year. So you have to go in and edit his contract, and it takes their cap space down to like half of what the game actually gives it. So that's tip number 4. Tip number 5 is you want to go in and adjust the sliders. So whatever that means for you, you're going to want to do XP sliders because some of the positions, like I said, are neglected, and you'll see that some of them don't earn XP at the same ratings as others. Positions being fullback, kicker, punter, stuff like that, you want to bump up in XP, but for the most part, you can stay around the base 100 rating for XP sliders, but you do want to go in and edit the gameplay sliders, and you want to edit them to a point where you think that you're going to have some fun. But these are the sliders that we have come up with so far, and we've done tweaking back and forth, so this is just kind of where we're at currently. But you're going to want to do some editing of the sliders just to kind of see what a fun experience is for you. And if you guys want, go ahead and take a screenshot of this real quick. These are the sliders that we play on. They present a very fun experience, a very unique experience, and we've been playing with these for a couple franchises now. So it's like a whole new game whenever you play on something like this, because you get a whole bunch of new animations, you get a whole bunch of cool new gameplay experiences. So it's really a whole different atmosphere whenever you're playing on something like that. So that's tip number 5. Step number 6 to setting up the game is to adjust your auto sliders. So a lot of people don't pay attention to this, auto subs, and it's something that you should pay attention to, because I hear a lot of people complaining when they're playing Madden, why is my backup running back in? Why isn't Le'Veon Bell on the field? Or, why is, who knows, a wide receiver on the field whenever Julian Edelman should be out there? Or why isn't Brandon Cooks out there? Well, it's because your auto subs aren't set correctly. There are certain positions that you don't want to sub in, and you'll know what those are personally, but for me, what I want to do is I turn up my position auto subs for like offensive line, because backups rotate in the NFL, and I want my backups to rotate in. I pride myself on having decent backup offensive linemen so that I can continue to rotate players in and out. But halfback-wise, I don't want my halfback to rotate in a ton. So, maybe I'll take this down to 55 and, or 54 and 55, because I don't want my halfback to sub in. But the other thing that you can do is you can do realistic sliders, and a way to do that, I can maybe come out you guys with them, but I would say just look them up online. There's a lot of realistic auto sub sliders that are out there. They just tell you based on frequency in the NFL when to sub, what to set these at so your players sub in and out. So for example, like wide receivers, they sub in and out a whole bunch, so they put that one up. Or defensive backs and linebackers, they sub in and out a whole bunch, so it tells you to put those sliders up. And it says that players like, safeties don't sub in as much, so you put that one down, for example. So you want to pay some attention to your auto subs, because that is going to affect the way the game plays for you, and it's going to affect who's on the field for you. That is definitely something you want to pay attention. pay attention to, sorry. And then step 7 is just a personal thing, not necessarily a total franchise type of thing for everybody, but mainly for your team. If you want to have some fun, is you want to pay attention to these team management things. You want to pay attention to things like your team value. You want to go in here and see where it has your team rated at, because it'll be interesting for you to see. Like, my team is 16th in fan happiness, so I want to figure out why they're unhappy. We're 27th in popularity. I wonder why we're 27th in popularity. So I want to go in and figure those things out. And you can do that by going in and looking at things like your marketing. And this will tell you whether you have players that are marketable. So Cam Newton has 94 popularity. So I have some players here that have some good popularity. But then again, there's a steep drop-off between Cam Newton, Kuechly, and Olsen. Then I jump way down to Julius Peppers, who isn't even on the team anymore, to Eric Reed, guys that aren't particularly popular. So maybe I want to go out and trade for a player that's going to help me sell jerseys, or maybe I want to go out and sign a player that's going to help me sell jerseys or something like that. Team popularity, it's going to give you a rating, so it's going to say whether you're regionally popular, locally popular, nationally popular, and those things are going to be affected based on your winning. As you can see, it says our overall season record is 67-53, so obviously we're not going to be that popular nationally because we're not in the spotlight enough. So that's telling me we need to win more, we need to get to the playoff, get into big games, and then people will start to recognize us and start to give us the attention that I feel like we deserve. And then you can look at your media relations, which is going to be, this is going to pop up when you answer media questions. It's going to tell you what's been awarded, because each time you answer a media question, it will say like +5 for making the playoffs or -10 for not making the playoffs, and it'll tell you whether you've been awarded +5 or you've been deducted -10 happiness or whatever it may be. So that's going to affect your happiness and your team popularity. So I think that you should definitely not ignore all of these things in here. I go in here all the time and check these out. And one of the biggest things and the funnest things to do is to manage your stadium. You can go in and you can do different things, like you can upgrade your stadium, you can choose to rebuild your stadium if your rating's less than 40, or you can choose to relocate a team, which is always fun to do. In addition to that, this all adds a degree of challenge to the game and adds a degree of depth. So you're not just getting on Madden to play anymore, you're getting on Madden to manage your team, to do different things, and it adds more depth and more interest to the game and keeps the experience fresher for longer. So then you can go in and look at things like your staff, and you can make staff changes. So maybe this season I don't want to go with Ron Rivera as my head coach. I can scroll over to coaches and hit L2 and look at the available staff, and I could potentially go and hire a different coach. Vance Joseph's out there. Maybe I'll go and hire Vance Joseph because I want to switch to a 3-4 defense, or I want that offensive scheme, or I just like Vance Joseph or something like that. So maybe I'll go out and do a head coaching change, or maybe I'll do a scouting change because I want my scout to be targeted to a different position so that it's cheaper for me to actually scout them as I go. Or maybe I just want my fan happiness to be high, so I'm going to get higher level scouts and trainers, which is what I did. I fired my scout and my trainer and hired a higher level guy to try and increase my team's happiness. And then the other thing that you want to pay attention to is your finances. And this is super easy to do. You're going to just want to go into each of these, the tickets, the merchandise, and the concessions, and you're going to want to put them at a place where you feel is best. So if I'm a team that's not successful, I'm going to take these prices way down and charge less money so that people are more willing to come to my games. But if I'm a team like the Patriots, I'm going to charge a ton of money for my tickets. That way I can make more profit because people are going to come out to see me regardless, and I want to make more profit off my tickets. So those are definitely things to look into. It's really interesting when you start getting into merchandising and stuff because you can change the prices of specific players' jerseys. So like Julius Peppers should be selling for super cheap because he's not even on the team anymore. So we'll sell him for cheap, we'll sell Eric Reed for cheap, but then we'll sell Kuechly, Olsen, and Newton for a little bit more expensive because they're more popular. So you can get creative with things like that, and then you can go in and do concession prices. So lots of different options here, and lots of different things to pay attention to, and you can see the changes from week to week These are things that I think help make the franchise a bit more interesting. And these are all things that I do before we ever even advance to play a game. As you can see, we're still recruiting people in, but I've edited the roster to a point where we feel comfortable. I've edited the salaries to a point where I feel like we're all comfortable that there's going to be a healthy free agent class, and one team isn't going to be outbidding everybody for every single free agent. So we're pretty confident that this is where we're going to be. If you guys also want to see this franchise other than just joining it, I know I extended the offer to join the franchise earlier on in the video, but if you guys want to watch this franchise, please leave a like on the video, subscribe to the channel for more, and comment down below what you'd like to see. Right now I'm the Panthers. I've kind of cut a ton of players, as you can see on the top right next to where I'm scrolled over here. It says 34 or 53 players. We're a shell of a team right now. I've cut a lot of players, thinking about trading some players. So we have a lot of different directions we can go. We could use some linebacker help potentially. We could use safeties, corners. I mean, we could use whatever. Defensive ends, offensive line, wide receivers maybe, tight end if Greg Olsen retires. We could use all types of different positions. So if there's any direction that you guys would like to see this franchise specifically go, let me know down in the comment section. Or if you would like to support any of the other guys that have teams in here, if any of these are your favorite team, I can certainly dive into their team and see what they're doing. Or you can go and check out, I know that Walking Avenger has a channel. Go check out Walking Visions. He may do something on this franchise as well. So be on the lookout for that. But with all that being said, please, if you want to get in on the franchise, you want to get in on the realistic action, the realistic franchise, and see how we play it, please just comment down below. Let me know. Hit me up, send me a message, and I will comment back to you guys. And we'll get you guys in, we'll get you guys a team, and we'll get going here soon. And please like the video and subscribe for more. And stay tuned for my next video coming on Red Dead Redemption 2 later today. I'll see you guys in the next video. I hope you guys have a great night.